Iborn, Reverend Sirs, dear friends, I wish to state clearly and unequivocally that the appointment of Mahinda Rajapaksa as Prime Minister of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka by His Excellency the President Maithripala Sirisena, as well as the subsequent chain of events that followed, compromised both himself and his office on a number of constitutional, legal, social, moral and ethical fronts. First, his action of removing the incumbent Prime Minister, Honorable Ranil Wickremesinghe, is an act in gross violation of the Constitution. The President can only appoint a Prime Minister who can command a majority of the Parliament, but as evident in the amendment to the Constitution, does not vest in him the power to remove him, as was the case before the 19th Amendment was ratified. Second, the provisions of the Constitution do not state that the Cabinet ceases to function in the event of one party pulling out of such a government. It is the Parliament, as the supreme body, that can ratify the Prime Minister and decide the number of ministers in the Cabinet. Of grave concern too is the fact that actions of His Excellency the President are in violation of the doctrine of public trust, which has already been used to censure past leaders of state, since it compromises the constitutionally guaranteed inalienable sovereign right of the people. In this, he has committed the grave crime of going against the very norms of governance upon which he was elected to power by a popular people's movement. In that same vein, it is obvious that he has also directly violated the ethics of politics with these actions, having gone against those who elected him to highest office in the first place. He was a political entity that was created by a concerted movement of the people, and his actions go against the trust placed in him by the people to hold true to their most earnest aspirations. While he claims that there were moves afoot to take his life, he could have and should have responded to them in line with the stature of his office, and he should have spoken to the relevant parties. If he was doubtful that the incumbent government did not enjoy the majority vote of Parliament, he should have similarly upheld the norms of decorum and behavioral stature and asked the incumbent Prime Minister to show that he did enjoy such a majority instead of violating due process and torpedoing the foundation of democratic engagement and thereby severely damaging the entire democratic process. Finally, he has completely destroyed his socio-political responsibility and his own political integrity and morality by proroguing Parliament and preventing a quick resolution to a crisis he himself created, and thereby compounding issues and confounding an already confused citizenry. It is also quite clear that by that one action, he has made it obvious that this entire chain of events was nothing more than a political coup. All of these beg the simple question, why did he do this? It is not at all hard to figure out why. First, he was brought into power by forces that were arrayed against his own party, the SLFE, and therefore his broader political foundation was very weak. Next, his own Sri Lanka Freedom Party voter bloc resented their tenuous support for him and went back to Mahinda Rajapaksa, which resulted in the SLFP coming in a distant third at the local government elections held earlier this year. In that process, he brought about a situation where he was personally left a political non-entity incapable of ever contesting an election again. Obviously then, he was in a grave political crisis. He also realized that the next year was going to be his last year of his term, and the coming budget was his last opportunity to influence Parliament. However, if he was, as he has claimed repeatedly, going to retire at the end of his term, such issues should not have colored his thinking or had any bearing on his conduct whatsoever. However, his action in creating this crisis in both politics and governance proves the fallacy of his repeated claims. Therefore, let us be clear that he wishes to become president for another term after his current term's end. Let us also now consider Mahinda Rajapaksa. As much as the incumbent president, he too was in a dilemma. On one hand, as political directions changed and shifted, he, Mahinda Rajapaksa, realized that he could never bring his son into position to hold the highest office. On the other, he had issues with his own brothers. His own family members were in danger of being jailed. His brother Gotabe was due to stand on trial at bar on the 9th of November. Obviously, if he wanted to preempt these eventualities that would have sent him and his family into a dustbin of political history of the country, he had to act fast. If they wished to avert their own political demise, it was therefore natural that they united against the will of the people and the norms of political decorum. It should be clear that this was then not a situation that had either the blessings of the Constitution nor the mandate of the people given to these two individuals through due democratic process, but a gross violation of both. Compounding matters, governance has stopped and the government has ground to a standstill. Lumpen forces have been unleashed who are possibly entering offices, vandalizing government premises and engaging in the sort of revenge response that were the reasons why the people voted them out of office in the first place. Actions of a sort that were never perpetrated when the government changed in 2015 were not a single action against any politician of the fallen regime, nor was their propaganda machinery harmed. We have therefore now returned to thuggery that the people were so unequivocally against just a few years ago. Already, it is clear that force is being deployed to use the media, that social media is being blocked, and that ill-gotten wealth is being used to buy that questionable loyalty that is the bane of any democratic process. This is the way in which the incumbent president is repaying the trust of the people to see that there is a lasting change in the way political action should be conducted. All of this is creating absolute chaos on the international arena. On the international front, tourism and construction, where the investment and income are highest, will suffer immediately. Already the travel advisories have been issued against Sri Lanka. Investors are making plans to pull out of the country. An economy is in trouble, will clash, and the poor people will have to pay for it all. When the people who are supposed to make democratic decisions resort to this type of behavior, some conspirators are trying to create a situation with a very distinct possibility of military takeovers, as has happened previously in Pakistan and Thailand. However, in Sri Lanka, the trust in our heroic armed forces is absolute, and we know they will never resort to such undemocratic actions. The situation is at present toxic and composition and volcanic in potential for the destruction of human norms and value. Power taken under such circumstances will only last a very short time, as has been proven time and again in human history. In such circumstances, the issues may eventually be resolved not through democracy but through conflict, not through dialogue but through bloodbath. Nobody wants this, and it never need go to that point. A simple solution presents itself. All that His Excellency the President should do is not to procrastinate and allow this chaotic situation to become too complex for everyone to handle, and to reconvene Parliament and determine who has the majority. That is all there is to this, and it will go a long way towards ensuring that there is a peaceful resolution of the problem. If not, he will go down in the history of the country in infamy as a person who brought about a situation where merely in order to satisfy his political aims, he sacrificed the lives of Sri Lanka's citizens. We urge the President not to interfere with parliamentary affairs. We appeal to the Speaker to summon Parliament, and the members of Parliament can then select the Prime Minister legally. We challenge the bogus Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa to go before the Parliament and prove his legality. We urge him to stop using thugs to take over state institutions possibly and creating a bloodbath which will then allow a curfew and emergency to be imposed upon the people. We question if he is bold enough to go before Parliament or if he is too scared to do so. Finally, we appeal to the citizen of the country, rise against the illegal family bandit and his cohorts and restore peace, harmony and law and order again. We restate and reaffirm the fact that we adhere to non-violent principles and that we are determined to eradicate thuggery, fear and tyranny. Through these very means, we will fight for the righteousness, the rule of law, fairness in governance and sincerity in action. These have been callously and casually pushed aside for shallow political expedience and brought about a disastrous situation where the citizens cannot trust these type of leaders or their agendas anymore. Yet we will never stop our battle for truth and shall continue to fight on all fronts to return that democratic space and that democratic freedom back to the people from whom they have been cruelly snatched away. Victory to democracy, victory to freedom, victory to the people and our beloved motherland.